Okay, it's taken us a little while to get here, but we're finally ready to start programming your robot. In our first program, we're simply going to have the robot say the pre-recorded phrase, "Good morning." Since we're going to be using the NXT speaker in this lesson, it's essential the speaker volume is turned on, and now's a good time to check that. When you turn on your robot, do you hear the startup music? If not, you need to adjust the volume level on your NXT. If you forget how to do that, go back and watch the lesson about NXT buttons again. It's in there. Okay, so turn off your robot and let's get started with programming. When you start up the software, the screen will look something like this. It's possible when you start that you'll see this robot educator area too. If you do, just click on the red X and get rid of it. We want to write a new program, and if you look down at this bottom section of the screen, there's a thing labeled Start New Program. Let's call our program Good Morning. Oops. And hit go. Since this is Lego software, the screen looks a little bit Lego-y too. Right here is something called the sequence beam. This is where we're actually going to write our program. We're going to load up program blocks. Of course, it's Lego, so we use blocks along here. And the blocks will execute one after the other in order. Along the left side of the screen here, you see the common blocks that people use. If for some reason you don't see this common screen, down here there's a couple of little tabs that you can click on. And if you click on the one with the green circle on the left, you'll find the common palette. That's where I'm working. Okay, so here are some blocks that contain instructions for the robot. You can see we have some blocks that make the robot move. Let's ignore this one for now, but here's one that plays a sound, and what we want to do right now is play a sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a sound block, and I'll show you how to do this in a minute, and we're going to put it right here where it says Start on that sequence beam. So to grab the block, click down, and you'll see that little white area appears, the 3 white rectangles, just up here. And that shows you where your block is going to go. And you really want your block to go on the sequence beam, because that's the stuff that will actually be run in our program. It's absolutely essential that your block is placed on the central sequence beam. The NXT only considers instructions that are placed on the beam to be part of its program. So this program that you see here has one block, a sound block, and that's sitting on the sequence beam. In both of these examples, the sound blocks are not connected to the sequence beam. As far as the NXT is concerned, there's no blocks in either of these programs. Finally, take a look at this picture. You can see one sound block that's correctly on the beam and another one that's not. Notice that when you have one of each, you can actually see a slight difference in shading between the two, but it's pretty subtle. I know the examples I've just shown you on the slide make the error look really obvious, and I did it best to make less obvious, but it's hard to do so intentionally when you're trying. If I put it there, it's pretty obvious it's not on the beam, and now it's pretty clear it is. The important thing for you to know is that occasionally it can look like something's on the beam when it really isn't, and you should check for that if your program doesn't work the way you expect it to. Okay, so let's get back to your program. So we've put this sound block up here, and what does the sound block do? Well, you may have noticed that down here an area associated with that block has come up. If you don't see that, if you're not clicked on the block itself, you won't see that. So I click out here, I don't see it. I click in there, there it is again. And if you look down here, this gives us some information about what this block does. It gives us more information because we can't really fit very much on that little picture. So in this case, we're not going to look in great detail. We'll talk more about this stuff later, but we're going to play a sound file. And right now, the system is playing a sound file that says good job. But of course, I said we want our program to say good morning. So if you look down here a little bit further, you can see the words good morning, and I'm going to click on that.
Good morning.
And the robot or the computer says good morning, tells us what it's going to say. Okay, so now my sound block is a sound block that says good morning, and if I click out here again and then click on the sound block, you can see that that's saved in there. Okay, so let's just save your program by clicking on the little save program icon up at the top, and it says what's the file name, goodmorning.rbt, and you can see where it's storing it on my computer. And we've got our program written. Now, remember, right now this program exists on your computer, but it's not on your robot yet. So grab your USB cable and connect your cable to the robot and connect the other end to the computer. And then turn on your robot if you haven't done so already. Now, if this is the first time you're plugging a robot into this computer, you may have to wait a while to install drivers. Just follow the on-screen directions, and you may have to wait a little while. Sorry. But anyway, at this point, once your robot is hooked up, you're going to want to transfer the program to your robot. And the way we do that is using this download button here. So just click on the download button, and the robot should beep, and that tells you that the robot has received the program. Now there's a few things that could go wrong here. If my robot isn't plugged into my computer, then when I try to download, I get this error message, and the error message says the device is no longer connected. Another problem can happen if my robot's turned off. I can actually get that same message. And if you look, the message tries to be helpful. If I download and it says the device is no longer connected, and I check and my cable is indeed connected, but I turned it off. But it says possible solutions, make sure the current device is turned on, make sure you have a device attached by USB or Bluetooth. Okay, so turn it on. Okay. Let me download my program again. All right. At this point, you should look at the screen on your robot. If it says My Files, you're in great shape. If it doesn't, the easiest thing to do is just turn your robot off and then turn it on again, and then it'll say My Files. Okay. So now what I want you to do is you see My Files. Press the orange button. You should see Software Files. Press the orange button again. You should see Good Morning. Press the orange button again. You should see Good Morning Run. And when you press the button again, it says Good Morning. And yeah, for those of you watching this raw video, I do see that it says Goofy Morning on my slide. I'm going to fix that. Hang on. There you go. That's better. Okay. So when you press the button, okay, I'm backing up a little bit. The word run means hit the orange button and it'll run. Try it. If it worked, try it again. I'm hoping that everything worked to this point and you've got a program running on your NXT. If for some reason your NXT didn't say good morning, I want you to quit from the software and turn off your robot, and then go back to the beginning of this lesson and try again, following each instruction really carefully. If you get to this point again and your program still isn't working correctly, I recommend that you call LEGO support. It's possible that you've done something wrong, but it's also possible that you have a broken NXT. Either way, they should be able to help you. You can find their contact information on our resources page. Okay, so I hope that pretty much everyone's still watching me now, and that means that your program worked. And I just want you to take a minute to recognize how incredibly cool that is. Yeah, okay, all we did was make your robot say good morning, but Don't discount that. You've just made a robot say good morning. You've just programmed a robot. Sure, there's still a lot more to learn about robot programming, but the truth is you've written a program. You've programmed a robot, and that's amazingly cool.